Hey guys, welcome to this video on the messages and energies of January, the rest of January 2021. I know I'm kind of late, but as I've mentioned in other videos, I am swamped, absolutely swamped with personal client readings at the moment, and so it's just been a little rough for me to figure out how to continue to engage with my channel and with you guys and still meet the increasing demands of my personal client practice. So today I have decided to come on here and film a pick a card style reading. This wasn't something that I ever thought I would do. I know there are thousands of readers that do it, and I just never really thought that I would do it because I always had a different style of going about my readings. However, I just am so crunched for time. I really want to get something out for you guys and I really want to explore. And so I think this is the best way to do it. I don't know if I'm going to continue. I did have a lot of people ask me for this type of reading. So thank you so much for your encouragement and your suggestions. I love hearing from you guys when you have ideas. So let's go ahead and get into the pick a card portion, or pick a deck rather. Now, I have these three decks, so I'm going to do three readings. The first one is going to be with the Green Witch Tarot, and there's a, this is my favorite quartz, smaller quartz point that I have. So it felt like that was just calling for that deck. And I have a little mini crystal ball. It's actually amber quartz, and it's really lovely. And then this is the Celtic, or the DruidCraft Tarot. And then we also have the Ethereal Visions Tarot deck with a rose quartz crystal. So we have three quartzes, all different kinds of quartz, and we have three decks. So whether it's the Green Witch, the Ethereal Visions, or the DruidCraft, I encourage you to now kind of center yourself and see which deck you feel has your messages, and let's get into it. Okay, if you chose the Green Witch Tarot, one of the messages that was coming through while I was tuning in for you is that I feel like January, the rest of January 2021, is kind of a time of really listening to yourself. I feel like there's something here to do with really sticking to your routines and your personal insights that you've set up for yourself, and maybe even your plan. Like if you are a business owner or an investor or a trader or an artist, it's like whatever your plan was for January, I feel like this is really about kind of sticking to it, feeling calm and gentle within yourself, and recognizing that the outside world may look kind of crazy as it continues to, we continue to move through these kind of chaotic experiences, but overall, the most important thing is that you are tending to your own garden and that you are staying aligned within yourself and seeing yourself as kind of like an individual little, almost like a vehicle, yourself to go through life, and you get to choose the directions that you go, and you get to choose the path that you basically walk. And so you can see yourself as almost like a united nation of one is kind of like the word that's coming to mind. It's like you are whole unto yourself, and you get to navigate this experience and navigate this map however you see fit. So let's get some messages for those who chose the Green Witch Tarot. Okay, so I'm just looking at a card for each section of the month of January, and then we also have, I'm going to look at a Bob Ross message, Green Witch Tarot people, and I'm going to get you a Sacred Destiny Oracle card as well. Let's take a look. So we've got the Holly King. Like right when I was saying, you know, I feel like this is kind of a hermit type of month, right? In the meditation, that was exactly what was coming through, is this feeling of, you know, taking yourself into consideration and focusing on your own path. And then you get the Hermit, this deck's version of the Hermit card, right out of the gate. This should be very validating for you guys if you did choose this deck, that these messages are important for you. It's important for you to remember to walk your own path and to not separate yourself from life or from society necessarily, but to really make that space and that seclusion so that you can come back to your truth and focus on that inner light, that candle that is, you know, candle of spirit flame that's burning within you, that gives you the clarity and the intuition and the instincts to make decisions for yourself that will look like they have very positive results. You know, we have the Nine of Pentacles coming up right away. And then you also have the Ace of Swords, and the Chariot, which this deck calls the Battle Wagon. So this is fascinating. In a lot of ways, I feel like the name of the game is clarity for you if you chose the Green Witch Tarot. I feel like, you know, you have these two major arcana cards that are flanking these two minor arcana cards. So in your reading, it's almost like the majors, which represent spirit and overarching, you know, vaster themes, big life lessons, our karmic connection, you know, to the cosmos and the way that we learn bigger things in our lives. Those are like your larger intentions, right? And then to have the major arcana sort of flanking and surrounding the minors almost indicates to me that you have a really good opportunity. If you chose this deck, you have a really good opportunity to guide your daily life, which is the minor arcana, right? Guide your daily life via your broader, larger intentions, like your authentic intentions. So it's really about protecting your actions and behaviors and staying very intentional about everything that you're doing, so that you can start to see and manifest some really powerful gains in your life, whether that is improvement in your relationships or in your personal life, or improvement in your finances, or improvement in your business or your financial strategies of any kind. For me, the Ace of Swords is about a victory. And then the Nine of Pentacles obviously is a card of satisfaction and harmony within the material world, including harmonization with money and harmonization with, you know, the brass tacks elements of our existence that really help us to live a physically satisfying life, you know, having good health, having good you know, feng shui energy around us, having positive relationships with the people and the things and the objects and nature in our environment. So I am seeing a movement towards a lot of success in these areas for you in January, and I feel like the advice from the cards is like asking you to continue to be very intentional about what you're putting out there and what you're doing. This is a time to be very self-driven, okay? Now, looking at this as a week-by-week sort of thing, the first week has the Hermit. So the first week, which we're already well into, is kind of about tuning into your inner life and making sure that you are staying connected to yourself. The second week could bring some kind of opportunity when it comes to investing, or when it comes to your business, or when it comes to your family even. There's some kind of really positive opportunity that lies in the waiting, and it's something that I feel is also based on your prior actions. So it's not necessarily something that just comes out of nowhere, but rather, if it does come out of nowhere, the fact of the hard work that you've put in some area of life in your past is what gives you the ability to take advantage of this opportunity that comes seemingly out of nowhere. Or it could be that something you've been working towards for a long time is coming into place. Now, the third week is the Ace of Swords, so that's going to be an important time in January to be very clear about what it is that you want and to keep things simple. is what I'm hearing. So sometimes with the Nine of Pentacles, it can bring in a lot of new energy into our life, right? That we then have to manage that energy. And so I think with the Ace of Swords in the third week, it's kind of saying, keep things simple. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need the thing that's most important. Like my husband says, make the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So it's kind of a tongue twister, but you want to just keep your eye on exactly the thing that is your highest priority, and, you know, let everything else that might be distracting you, like, give yourself the ability to step away from that, whatever it may be. And now the last week of January, we have the potential for some kind of victory happening with the Chariot card. So it is going to be, I would say, reliant on your willingness to step up, and your willingness to have courage, and your willingness to face challenges head on, and also your ability to kind of harmonize your inner energies. I would add that as well. So, but that looks like a nice victory. So this turns out to be a pretty active month, even though you start the month a little bit more quiet, a little bit more private, a little bit more thinking about you and your journey, and then it kind of goes forward from there in the areas of business in particular, I'm seeing. Wow, and so your Bob Ross message is, I think each of us at some time in our life has wanted to paint a picture. So I feel like this is really saying for you guys that whatever it is that you're chasing in this Chariot card, like, it starts in the Hermit place. Like, wanting to paint a picture is in essence having some kind of personal vision, right? And the personal vision comes when you give yourself the space to kind of separate out from society, so that you're not like asking for what society tells you should want, and you're not letting your desires, you know, be kind of overwhelmed by what society deems, you know, is appropriate for you to want, right? So I feel like this is like really the imaging and the personal vision and the connection to yourself is more and more important, because the more connected you are to that in the beginning of the month, the more clear you are going to be at the end of the month to take the actions you need to take to move in that direction. I also see the Love card as being about, you know, positive energies in your environment and really doing what you love. I think that this card has a lot to do with, you know, as Joseph Campbell said, following your bliss. And as we know, sometimes following our bliss leads us way out of our comfort zone and way into unexplored territory. But I feel like this is about really embodying the energy of excitement and passion and authentic joy for what you feel those emotions about, right? And then, but also kind of, I'm hearing like leaving space for whatever everyone else is asking for. Like, in the energy of love, like real love, there's an energy of acceptance. There's an energy of acceptance of the other person, who they really are at their core, so that you're not trying to make them fit into what you want from them or what you want for them, right? Like real, like getting into that, you know, very source calibrated love is like being willing to maybe love people without any strings attached, without any pressure, without any insistence, without any chase or any sort of neediness, right? Like, this is just about acceptance that transcends anything else that we can relate to, like our material existence. So there's something about this really powerful transcendent energy with this card. But some of you could just be, you know, meeting someone for the first time, or maybe getting, you know, connected to a dating website, or doing something like that you haven't done in a long time, and starting to feel the stirrings of love in a romantic sense as well. But overall, I see this more as like your approach to life is like one that's rooted in this deeply transcendent spiritual perception of love, and this sense of, you know, connectedness to your inner being and to your own sense of I guess like holding the energy that you want to hold, right? Like that's more the love that I'm sensing with this. It's more about transcendent self-reflection. So that is your reading. If you chose the Green Witch Tarot, I hope that this reading has been helpful to you. Let's go on to the next one. Okay guys, if you chose the DruidCraft Tarot, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle your cards, but I wanted to just start with a little bit of insight into the energy I was picking up while I was meditating. And for you guys who chose this deck, I was actually feeling a lot of, I guess I want to say, optimism. Like I feel like there's a very strong sense of optimism about 2021 in general, and there's a very authentic sense of possibility that is very exciting. And I think that some of you are like thinking bigger for yourselves than you have in the past. And I feel like that feels really good. Like there's a feeling of vitality that comes along with this sense of like working past some mental hangups that you had maybe in 2020 and, you know, earlier as well. So it's like a freedom essentially from blocked thinking habits is really like what's making way for this renewed sense of like vigor and energy and excitement. Okay. All right, and I'm also going to be pulling you guys a Bob Ross card. Okay. And a Sacred Destiny Oracle card. Okay. So let's take a look at your tarot cards. We've got 9 of Cups, 4 of Swords, Queen of Pentacles, and 7 of Pentacles. Beautiful. Yeah, so there is that very clear kind of bright-eyed sense of optimism that I'm picking up in loosely the first quarter of January. And this could, you know, this whole reading could leak into a little bit of February as well, since I am starting late. But there is this sense with the 9 of Cups of like something of satisfaction. You know, this person is looking at a tapestry, what looks to be a really beautiful tapestry. And I feel like there's something going on in this image that feels like appreciation for what you have, which is always a really good place to be, especially when you're starting a new year. You want to kind of let go of whatever disappointments or even, you know, high points there were in the last year, and just be grateful for where you are now and be very focused in the now of everything that you have at your disposal. This is really a mindset thing for you guys. I feel like this is about really having a strong and fluid and flowing kind of optimism about you, which is going to help you to get basically your life's events, you know, to work in your favor. Because when your mindset is flexible enough to find the positive in any situation, you can realize how you're actually benefiting from so many things that ordinarily you would maybe feel inclined to maybe like judge in some type of a way. It's like you kind of move past that. So I feel like there's this very positive mindset thing going on. Now the 4 of Swords, Queen of Pentacles, and 7 of Pentacles are what follow that, which to me in this context feel like you're taking this mindset, which is a very positive mindset, and then as you move forward throughout the month, you're kind of realizing what like brass tacks efforts need to be completed in order for you to actually extract the beneficence of the resources and the opportunities that you have at your disposal. I feel like some of you are meditating on something this month that gives you, especially like next week in the second week of January, you could be really thinking about a decision that you need to make in regards to how you spend your time. Like you might be realizing that some of the goals that you set are not really in alignment for you, and so you're kind of changing course, or like that can be a theme as well with the Seven of Pentacles, because there's an energy of harvest with this person harvesting the mistletoe here. So it's like kind of letting go of something so that everything else can grow in a way. And so I feel like with the Queen of Pentacles though, you're very in alignment with the decision that you're making and with what you're choosing to put efforts into. And what I will say about this card is that in general, she represents times of great material success. But we often come to those time periods of great material success, as indicated by this card, through in some way being receptive, because queens are the receptive component of the royal pairing, right? The kings are active and the queens are receptive. So somewhere around the third week of January, it's almost like you're kind of taking cues from your life in some way, and you're applying yourself in a very humble and earnest and kind of hardworking manner towards the pursuit of some kind of a goal. And I feel like you're making immediate progress, because the rabbit in this card is also a sign of fertility and the ability to generate what you want, the ability to explore and expand, and to be grounded all the while, at the same time. So there is a sense of kind of quietly going about your projects this month. I will say it's like you privately have this very, very good attitude. If you chose this deck, you privately have this very optimistic, very in alignment attitude, but you're not necessarily broadcasting that to everyone around you, because maybe, let's face it, some of the people around you might not be feeling quite so positive as you are, or they may not be setting their mindset intentionally as you are. And so I think it's really good to remember that you don't always have to rush into things with all of this like outward enthusiasm. You can just kind of quietly and peacefully have that positive energy, and you can quietly and peacefully go about the process of making your goals happen, and you can have all this inward energy and passion and vitality, and you're not hiding it from the world, but you're also not like taking it to an extreme by trying to put it on display either. It's a very middle ground path. It's about, being the way that you want to be in any given moment, so that you can move in a productive manner towards, wherever you're trying to get to. So I feel like, there's also the possibility of a financial improvement at the end of the month. Some of you, if you are investors, this could involve selling off some of your stake in something, because again, by the end of the month, there is the Seven of Pentacles, which is a harvesting. So again, there's that cutting energy, there's that splitting or ending energy. So now that whatever you're harvesting, it's not going to grow anymore in that particular way. But you are, working with cycles of time and of, the way that you feel and trust that you need to make these kind of harvests. I mean, there's always a time to harvest, and there's always a time to plant new seeds. And so somehow some of you feels like you could be harvesting in some way, or putting something from your past, solidly in your past, but taking with you to the future the fruits of that labor. So again, some of you could be like selling off some of your stock if you have stock in a particular company, or if you have a commodity or a crypto. You might be like, okay, I made a good return. I'm going to cut off, some of this so that I know, it's not growing anymore because I'm selling it off, but I'm getting something, by doing this. Wow, and that's interesting because you have the Bob Ross message, which is anytime you learn, you gain. And then you also have the protection card from the Sacred Wisdom or Sacred Destiny Oracle. So this is interesting because I do feel like with the Four of Swords, this is also kind of highlighting that energy for me of like needing to prioritize things in your life. And it's okay to not treat everything in your life as though it is equal to everything else. You know, we have priorities, we have things we want to focus on. And I think that, you know, when we get that card, anytime you learn, you gain, it's like you are realizing that you're learning something. You're learning that there is something that you need to let go of. Even though things are moving in such a positive direction and you feel like you have a really good mindset, there's still going to be those moments of, oh, okay, do I need to let this thing go? Or do I need to let that friendship go? Or do I need to, like, really, am I overthinking that? Am I taking it too far? You know, am I going to regret this decision? But I feel like ultimately you're going to be like, no, this is the right move. This is the right move because you have the Queen of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles, which implies this movement towards abundance and security. And at the same time, there's this finality of the harvest energy. There's a finality to that. So there's a peace that you're coming to with some kind of decision this month. And I feel like the protection card is saying you are protected and that whatever you need is coming to you. You know, the trees don't move around. They kind of just stay in one place and everything they need comes to them. So there is a message about that in the Bible about, you know, see the lilies in the field, you know, without toil or labor or hardship, you know, they're taken care of. And don't you think, you know, that God is doing that for you? I'm paraphrasing this here, but don't you think that God does this for you too? And I think that this is kind of the message of this card is we see these rays of light coming down onto the tree and it's almost like, yeah, you are protected. You are being supported. Everything that you need is coming to you. So it's safe to make those kind of decisions that do create a clear demarcation, right, between the now and the past. That's part of what helps you move into the future. So it is about being okay with the finality of these moments that you may have and these decisions that you may be making if you chose this deck. But you're learning, and so you are gaining. Gaining, I feel, in financial terms and in terms of security as well. So if you chose the DruidCraft Tarot, I hope this reading has been helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this reading, and let's get into the next one. Okay, if you chose the Ethereal Visions Tarot, then this is your reading. And I just wanted to tell you guys before I get into the actual cards that one thing that I was picking up in the meditation that I did before this portion of the video is actually that I feel like some of you are going to be learning different tools or learning new techniques this month. And I feel like this learning is going to carry over at least for the next 2 months. But it could be more than that. But I feel like between now and the end of February 2021, you're going to have learned a completely new skill. Like I feel like you're going to master some kind of skill or some kind of technique. And that's saying a lot, but I feel this energy of, like I was kind of seeing like the magician card with the magician in front of all of his tools. And I feel like there's something specifically that was coming through intuitively about the tools. So some of you could be learning new techniques of analysis. Some of you could literally be learning a new craft, or even just a new way of making money and running a business, or trying your hand at something new is going to pay off. And I'm also going to get you guys a Bob Ross message, as well as Sacred Destiny Oracle card, and let's see what we've got. So we've got Ace of Wands with the High Priestess, with the Two of Wands, and the Four of Cups in reverse. So this is a really beautiful reading. When I'm looking at this, I'm seeing the High Priestess kind of in between the Ace and the Two of Wands. And I feel like there's a really important message here, which is from your ability to open up your mind and from your ability to pay attention. And I don't just mean paying attention to, you know, something that's on TV or like what someone else is saying. I more mean paying attention in kind of like the deeper psychological sense, like being aware of what's going on internally for you and being aware of where your own potential biases may be, like your potential hang-ups and your potential beliefs about life that may or may not be true, right? Like your convictions. Through your willingness to accept that you could be wrong about some of your assumptions, that's the key in the beginning of January. It's like, and I know that sounds weird, but I feel like the more willing you are to be surprised, the more willing you are to be wrong, the more willing you are to be open-minded, the more that there is this space created within you for a genuine joy and inspiration to like completely light you up. So this is kind of a complex reading because a lot of times when we start a new year, we have these ideas of what we're going to do and how things are going to go and, you know, what we believe in for ourselves and what's going to happen. You know, we might have these ideas of what the truth is and the way that things would go if they were going to go their best possible way. And I feel like in this reading, the more open you are to kind of leaving space around whatever those assumptions are for you, the more you are going to be genuinely inspired in your life and the more that you're going to be surprised in a positive manner. Because a lot of these assumptions you may have, if you chose this deck, a lot of the assumptions that you may have about yourself are slanted somehow towards limitation or are slanted somehow towards, yeah, that would be great, but that would never happen. Or it's always going to go down this way. You know, it's just, it's like this jaded almost frequency that I'm picking up, but I feel like you're actually stepping out of that in January. So if you chose this deck and you've been a little jaded about things in the past, whether it's people that you've been in relationships with or, you know, things that are going on in society, or, you know, if you've had a chip on your shoulder about like some kind of institution or bureaucracy or, you know, frustrations with like a manager or a person in authority in your life or negative expectations about a family member, like you may have a genuine reason to feel the way that you do, right? Like if you do feel slightly pessimistic about something in your life, but you may also not even realize that there is that kind of like limiting belief attached to whatever your assumptions are. I feel like almost this is about stepping into this space with the High Priestess of like, I have no idea, and it feels amazing to just admit that. Like, it feels amazing to just take that like voice inside of you that wants to assert and to say, this is how it is. I know that this is how it is. I know that this is how things are going to play out. It's like, it feels so good to release those kinds of expectations, right? And the High Priestess represents the inner receptive factor of the psyche. She represents the inner dimension of yin, the inner dimension of spaciousness and formless darkness, right? But from that formless darkness is able to emerge the whole world. So I feel like that's kind of like in a microcosmic way, that's what's happening for you in your life, is you are in this space of formless energy on some level, more so than normal. We're always, in form, right? Because we're in the physical. But if you can find some way to unlock that total flexibility within you, about even things that you've had convictions about in the past, then, this new growth, this brilliant new growth is about to take shape. And it will spark, and it will take, that formless darkness and illuminate it and give you the ability to form it into whatever you want. It's like you're playing with alchemy here. And so the Two of Wands in the third week of January, I think, is really where the rubber starts to meet the road with these things. I know what I'm saying so far has been quite ethereal and kind of vague and hard to put our awareness, exactly on, like, what precisely is this going to mean for me, right? But this is just the quality of your reading. It's just, that's what's coming through, is it's very ephemeral. It's on the more subtle planes of your existence that these kinds of transformations are happening. It's in your mind, basically. And by the third week of January, the Two of Wands is coming in saying, like, these things are becoming grounded. You are now like the master of your castle. You're the person looking down over the landscape, and you're able to really clearly see the paths that are available to you. And you're grounded enough and feeling strong enough within yourself, and you have this new clarity that you're able to then kind of make a more educated and clear choice about like how you're going to move forward. So I would say expect, if you chose this deck, expect some kind of opportunity or analytical breakthrough to come through in the third week of January. You're going to be seeing things from a higher perspective, and that's going to give you a better vantage point from which to examine your route that you're going to take. So opportunities and foresight and strategy and planning are really going to be where the rubber hits the road in the third week of January. Really good opportunities there for some of you, I'm feeling. Now, the end of the month shows the Four of Cups in reverse. So we get this energy of like kind of sitting on the fence, like I was talking about before, or that energy of like a limiting belief that's maybe even slightly on the unconscious level, right? We get the sense of you really breaking through that, because the Four of Cups is in reverse at the end of the month. So it's like, as you go into this more active time period where the first 2 weeks are about releasing your attachment to your assumptions and your expectations about life, right? And so that a new spark can, appear on your inner landscape and begin to take root. The first 2 weeks are visionary and they're more inward. But then if you leave the space for that, then the last 2 weeks of the month are active, and they're about doing and moving and taking action. And not sitting on your stump, not sitting anywhere holding yourself from, what you want to take action on, because there's no reason to anymore. There's no reason to hang back anymore. There's no reason to wait anymore. By the end of January, there's no reason to watch the show anymore. It's like you actually get up and you're a part of it. Now, okay, so your Bob Ross message is, this is a happy place. Little squirrels live here and play. And your Sacred Destiny Oracle card is release. This is a beautiful card. So one thing that I will say is that I feel like this is a time in January where some of the things that you're going to be releasing are inwardly held assumptions and expectations about life that caused you in the past to not feel happy or safe, or as happy or as safe as you could be in, common situations, right? Like there's a lot here about releasing concepts and thoughts in your mind that have contributed in some way, shape, or form to you not feeling safe, or to you not feeling like it was safe to just let go and be playful within an experience, right? So if you are somebody who's dealt with, for example, social anxiety, I feel like these cards and your tarot cards are saying you could be working through some events or some energies and thought processes and happenings in your life that are in some way, shape, or form helping you to release that fear of, social acceptance or lack thereof. And it's almost like you are, in order to let go of that, you have to tap into the high priestess, where you actually embrace, the formless inner world, and you embrace the idea that maybe you don't know. Sometimes we have anxiety or deep fears because on some level we assume that our assumptions are true, right? Like in the case of social anxiety, we might assume that someone's judging us, or assume that we are not making a good first impression, or that we look like we don't know what we're talking about, or that that we're not forming an authentic bond with someone, right? Because usually that's what makes us feel safer in a social situation, is that we feel like we can trust the people, that we're being social with. But in the case of social anxiety, our mind can run amok with these, basically at their core, what they are is assumptions, like, oh, that person didn't like what I said, or I just sounded, stupid or bad, or I just made a fool of myself, or they don't understand me. I'm such a bad communicator. I over explain everything, or, maybe I offended them. And these are all inner assumptions that are just running through your mind. And frankly, sometimes what is the best medicine for that is to be humble and to recognize that your assumptions aren't necessarily correct. And that just because you have a thought doesn't mean that that thought is true. Just because you have a belief doesn't mean that that belief will hold up in the light of day. So it's about really stepping outside of that mindset that whatever thought creeps into your mind must be true, because, if you think about it, this is a really different way of looking at it, but if you think about it, if you're letting a thought that you're thinking create anxiety within you, you are basically assuming that your way of thinking is absolutely accurate, because you're taking that figment of your imagination and saying, well, this obviously must be legit. And there's an ego in that. There's a hubris in that. Whereas like maybe sometimes a more peaceful way of going through life would be when you have a thought, or when you have a very assertive thought, right? Whether it's a positive thought or a negative thought about yourself, or I guess if it's a positive thought about yourself, those, you don't have to worry about those too much, but they can get out of hand as well. But if you have an assertive thought either way, one of the most healthy things to do right after that is to shrug and say, well, people have been wrong in the past. I've been wrong in the past. Maybe that person doesn't like me. Maybe they're just shy like I am, and maybe they don't know how to make other people feel comfortable in their presence. So maybe that line of thinking that I've been engaging in for months is not true. Maybe it's not. And I think that that is something that takes so much weight off of your shoulders, because really believing that you know everything essentially is exhausting. It's exhausting, and a lot of times it leads to vibrational disharmony within you, because the truth is we don't know, and our minds are hardwired to focus more on the negative than the positive. That's just an evolutionary biological, neurological thing that has been studied extensively in scientific literature that basically shows that 99 positive comments on, let's say, an Instagram post or something on social media, and one negative one, your brain is going to focus way more on that one negative comment and way less on like the 99. It will weigh that one negative comment disproportionately massively in comparison, and not to say that it completely drowns out the other 99, but it is something that happens. It's a known factor within the human mind that we focus on the negative because maybe there's an evolutionary instinct to that. Maybe focusing on the negative tells us what we need to change in order to ensure our survival, as individuals and as a species. But we don't have to let that dictate our reality. We can be aware of those things in ourselves and remedy them with humbleness and the recognition that of anything that we think we could be wrong about, and that takes a huge weight off your shoulders. So I do feel like that's going to give you the ability to move forward with a much lighter heart and a much freer spirit if you chose the Ethereal Visions Tarot. I hope this reading has been helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed this format, and thank you so much for your suggestion to try this. Many of you did suggest this to me in email and over YouTube comments as well, and I just wanted to say thank you. I love when I take an idea from you guys and am able to act on it, and so I hope that this has been useful, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great month and a beautiful new year.